All right, I think we're live. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Politics, episode 846. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. There's a document in the description of the video for you to follow along with and reference. If you want to engage in the discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on when you join. Make sure you update your Zoom client before joining. All right, let me grab that link and then we can get started. All right. What I wanted to do is discuss tonight a YouTube short that came up in the Manosphere, came up on my feed. I thought it was pretty interesting. Let me pull it up and share the screen. Let me know when you can see my screen. Which one you can see if you can see my screen? All right, let me play this clip. This is from AB Media.
Gaining traction with voters of color. So I came to the Bronx to put a face on the numbers, and I was shocked by what I heard. Do you think that President Biden is doing a good job with the economy?
No, he's not doing nothing.
Is he doing a good job? Yes or no?
No. I can see we're all going to be the streets homeless.
There's inflation with everything, food, gas, insurance prices. I mean, you name it.
Bidenomics is not working. It's just a complete mess.
If you could say anything to Biden right now, who says that the economy is improving, especially in black and brown communities, what would you say to him?
That's lies.
Do you think that somebody else besides Biden should be president?
Bring back Trump. We had money when Trump was president.
Free my son, Trump. Trump 2024, everybody.
I'm gonna vote for Trump. It was much better when he was here, financially, for everybody.
I'm definitely voting for Donald Trump. He made sure we had money in our pockets. He was for the people. He made sure we had what we needed. And ever since he's been out of office, everything's declined.
They're saying it's going to be Biden-Trump, so who will you vote for?
Oh, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna have to go for Trump.
Who are you voting for?
Trump.
President Trump is gaining traction with voters of color. So I came to the Bronx to put a face on the numbers, and I was shocked by what I heard. Do you think that President Biden...
Well, speaking of putting face on things, we see AB Media's face on here. So let's remove that and let's get to the bottom of all of this. Let's start with AP, Associated Press. Okay. Associated Press. Fact check. Trump's farewell falsehoods. Okay. Let's go to the economy here. Zoom in, make this nice and big. The economy, this is the fact check. The economy, Trump, we also built the greatest economy in the history of the world. The facts, no, the numbers show it wasn't the greatest in US history, and he is the first president since Herbert Hoover in the Depression to leave office with fewer jobs than when he started. Did the US have the most jobs on record before the pandemic? Sure, the population had grown. The 3.5% unemployment rate before the recession was at a half-century low, but the percentage of people working or searching for jobs was still below a 2000 peak. Nobel Prize winning economist Paul Romer looked at Trump's economic growth record. Growth under Trump averaged 2.48% annually before the pandemic, only slightly better than the 2.41% gains achieved during Obama's second term. By contrast, the economic expansion that began in 1982 during Reagan's presidency averaged 4.2% a year. Trump, we reignited America's job creation and achieved record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women, almost everyone. The facts, not in ignition, job creation actually slowed in 2017, Trump's first year in office, to about 2 million compared with nearly 2.5 million in 2016, Obama's last year in office. The low unemployment rates refer to a pre-pandemic economy that is no more. The pandemic has cost the U.S. economy 10 million jobs and has made Trump the first president since Herbert Hoover to oversee a net loss of jobs. The U.S. has about 2.8 million fewer jobs than when Trump was inaugurated and lost 140,000 just in December. And the job losses have fallen disproportionately on Black Americans, Hispanics, and women. So what we heard in that clip was not true, based on the fact check by Associated Press. Okay, now let's go to factcheck.org. Okay, Trump's final report form. Jobs were down 2.8 million on record. This coincides with the Associated Press. Unemployment rate skyrocketed. Job openings increased. Okay. Economic growth was down, negative. Murder rate was up. Corporate profits were up though, right? So where is all of this? Everyone was doing good under Trump, because based on the numbers, that was not true. Yes, Senku, you're right. They did say that. This is what some dudes in the Black Manosphere said. We were making money under Trump. But the numbers don't support that. Okay. Here's the last piece here. This is from JEC Senate.gov, Joint Economic Committee under the Senate. And the title states, did Trump create or inherit the strong economy? The U.S. economy is in its 11th year of expansion with exceptionally low unemployment and robust job creation. There are signs that the economy may be weakening due to the trade war and other factors, but so far it has proven resilient. President Donald Trump claims credit for the strong economy, saying that he inherited a disaster from President Barack Obama and that he accomplished an economic turnaround of historic proportions. However, the truth is that by the time he became president, the economy largely had recovered from the Great Recession and was nearing full strength. The question is whether President Trump's erratic policies will undermine the strong economy he inherited. Obama was handed an economic catastrophe and prevented an even greater meltdown. When Barack Obama became president in 2009, the economy was experiencing what former Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke called the worst financial crisis in global history, including the Great Depression. In the last quarter of 2008, real GDP plummeted 8.4% and the economy hemorrhaged more than 1.9 million jobs. Barack Obama and congressional Democrats Democrats took strong action to rescue the economy, including implementing the stimulus, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP, financial reform, and the auto bailout. In addition, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates and took extraordinary measures to boost growth. Research by economists Alan Blinder and Mark Zandi found that without this multifaceted response, the recession would have lasted twice as long. Job losses would have been twice as high, and the drop in GDP would have been more than 3 times worse. Trump inherited a strong economy that got stronger. Unemployment under Obama, fell from a recession peak of 10% to only 4.7%. It has continued to drop and now is 3.5%. Job growth. By the end of the Obama administration, the economy had experienced 76 consecutive months of job growth. Since Trump became president, the streak has been extended to 111 consecutive months. Average monthly job growth during the last 35 months of the Obama administration, non-farm job growth averaged 227,000 per month. During the first 35 months of the Trump administration, the average was 36,000 jobs per month less, and averaging 191,000 per month. GDP growth. Average real GDP growth was roughly the same, 2.6% for the first 11 quarters under President Trump, and for the last 11 quarters of the Obama administration. Income. During the last 2 years of the Obama administration, annual median household income increased $4,800. This is 3 times more than the $1,400 increase during the first 2 years of the Trump administration. And so we heard this sort of protest, like in that YouTube short, talking about everybody was doing good under Trump. The facts don't back that up at all. The stock market. President Trump frequently points to the stock market as evidence of this success, even though it is a poor proxy for the nation's overall economic well-being, since nearly half of all Americans do not own stock, either directly or indirectly. However, even by this measure, he lags behind President Obama. In President Trump's first 3 years in office, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJIA, increased almost 50%, while over the 8 years of the Obama administration, the DJIA increased almost 140%, a substantially greater pace. Mainstream economists say the economy was strong before Trump took office. Greg Mankiw, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under George W. Bush, states that the economy was in fine shape at the end of the Obama administration, despite what President Trump sometimes asserts. A substantial part of economic progress under Trump occurred before his signature economic policy took effect. President Trump's most significant economic policy, his $1.9 trillion tax cuts, did not take effect until January 2018, a year after he took office. By that time, unemployment had dropped from 4.7 to 4.1%. Household incomes had increased $850, and 2.3 million new jobs have been created. The tax cuts may have caused a slight sugar high, but at a very high price. Let's get to this. The 2017 tax cuts likely added some fuel to the economy because they increased corporate profits, benefiting shareholders, and gave individuals more money to spend. However, many economists say that the sugar high from the tax cuts is wearing off. In fact, business investment has declined for 2 consecutive quarters, and a recent analysis by the New York Times found no relationship between the size of the tax cut companies and industries receive and their investments. In the long term, $1.9 trillion in new federal debt likely will weigh down the economy. like what we're seeing right now. Trump's trade war hurt consumers, businesses, and the economy. American businesses and consumers, not foreigners, pay tariffs. Although the tariffs hurt China by reducing demand for more Chinese goods, they also hurt American businesses that pay the tariffs. American consumers who buy the higher priced products, American farmers who are hit with reciprocal tariffs, and the economy, which is weighed down by the interaction of these forces. There clearly are American casualties in the trade war. The magnitude of the long-term damage is yet to be seen. One analysis finds that the trade war with China had already cost 300,000 American jobs as of September 2019, and the number would rise to 450,000 by the end of 2019. Furthermore, the Congressional Budget Office, CBO, estimates that the trade war will reduce GDP by 0.3% in 2020. While Trump argues that his Phase 1 trade deal announced earlier this month was historic, it fell short on many accounts. It didn't eradicate all import tariffs. It didn't address fundamental issues like China's corporate subsidies and other unfair practices, and it relied on Chinese promises to set up purchases of American goods that very well may not come to fruition. Okay? This is the facts. This is just me going from off the record. Now, why didn't AB Media post this? I don't know. Why did he take a TikTok video from a rogue news outlet, from some rogue people on the street, to use as a litmus test to determine what's going to happen in 2024? I don't know. That's something, you know, people would have to ask him. I'm just going off of what the facts say. It is clear that Trump inherited a strong economy that was still trending upward when he entered office. Those trends have continued. The economy may have received a small boost from the 2017 tax cuts, but many economists believe that the sugar high will be short-lived. Meanwhile, the Trump trade war has hurt American consumers and businesses, and it may slow future economic growth. In short, Trump inherited a strong economy from Barack Obama. The question is whether he will weaken it. Okay? These are the numbers here. And here are the footnotes in case anybody's interested in looking these numbers up. So what are we talking about here? More misinformation in the Black manosphere about people having more money under Trump. We know that's not true. Okay? We know it's not true. There's no evidence to support that. No data supports it. At least coming from these content creators and these chat room pundits. So what we're seeing here is more misinformation coming out of the Black manosphere from content creators, and no one questions it. Okay? No one questions it. It's always the Black Brain Trust that has to go out here and do our due diligence to say, hold on a second, let's look at this. Let's look at the facts. Document is in the description, need the video for you to follow along with and reference. Okay? This isn't some rogue website. This is from the Senate. This is from the Senate. I can play AB Media's clip again. Let's do it just for ish and giggles.
Biden is doing a good job with the economy.
No, he's not doing nothing.
Is he doing a good job? Yes or no?
No. I can see we're all gonna be in the streets homeless.
There's inflation with everything: food, gas, insurance prices. I mean, you name it.
Bidenomics is not working. It's just a complete mess.
If you could say anything to Biden right now, who says that the economy is improving, especially in Black and brown communities, what would you say to him?
That's lies.
Do you think that somebody else besides Biden should be president?
Bring back Trump. We had money when Trump was president.
Free my son. Trump. Trump 2024, everybody.
I'm gonna vote for Trump. It was much better when he was here financially for everybody.
I'm definitely voting for Donald Trump. He made sure we had money in our pockets. He was for the people. He made sure we had what we needed. And ever since he's been out of office, everything's declined.
They're saying it's going to be Biden and Trump, so who will you vote for?
Oh, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna have to go for Trump.
Who are you voting for?
Trump.
President Trump.
Now you heard this, okay? Now, presidential elections are every 4 years. But in between those 4 years, you have something called midterms. That's where you may have a Senate race, and you're definitely going to have a congressional race. You may even have a gubernatorial race. But do you see or hear any of these content creators talk about the midterms? No. To my knowledge, I don't hear any of them talking about the midterms. They only talk about every 4 years because that's their focus, is whatever happens in 4 years, I'll just wait until then, right? I'm kind of paraphrasing this. And so when you have to have a conversation every 4 years, but you don't care about the midterms, that means you're not looking at the whole picture. If you're not looking at the whole picture and you're trying to have a conversation about domestic politics, then you're only having a half-baked conversation. Okay. Now let's talk about the state of Indiana. Indiana. Actually, let me pull this up real quick. Let me pull this up really quickly. Spend another 10 minutes on this. Okay. Let me know you can see my screen. It's just sharing it now. Okay. Now, these are the 2022 elections in Indiana, all right? Secretary of State and the state Senate, Republican controlled. They also have a Republican governor. Governor's mansion is controlled by conservatives. Secretary of State controlled by conservatives. Senate is controlled by conservatives as well. Okay. What else do we need to hear? So, also, I believe your house is also controlled by, actually, it says right here, the house. The house is controlled by conservatives. Okay. House and the Senate, Secretary of State, Governor's Mansion, all controlled by conservatives. If you live in Indiana, your problems have nothing to do with President Biden. It has nothing to do with Vice President Harris. It has nothing to do with Obama. Okay. States' rights issues mean exactly that. It's not that difficult. You live in a Republican-controlled state, conservative-controlled state, where all of your issues can be easily traced right back to that. Why are we still having a conversation about whether or not Joe Biden is going to run in 2024, or whether or not the cost of eggs and gas is so high? You need to look at your own state. Massachusetts doing just fine. State of California doing just fine. In fact, California's economy will rival that of most European countries. No one seems to take that into consideration, though. Link is in the chat. I would welcome anyone to come up here and try to defend. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even done that.
President Trump is gaining traction with voters of color.
You know, this guy here.
So I came to the Bronx to put a
Let's go through it again.
When I say you are so wrong, when I say you're factually wrong, when I say...
Oh, you mean how you tell black folk your ancestors died for your right to blindly vote for the Democrat Party? Look at the history for yourselves. Our ancestors didn't die for us to blindly vote for the Democrat Party. Our ancestors died for our right to choose who and when we vote. Our ancestors didn't die for coons like Roland Martin to buck dance in front of Hillary Clinton. Black folk, let me ask you a question. You think Dr. King died so that we can buck dance for the Democrat Party the way Roland Martin does? Go back and look at the history. Dr. King did not buck dance for the Democrat Party the way Roland Martin does. Go back and look at the history.
When I say you are so wrong, when I say...
Let me take this comment really quickly from Michael Merriweather. He said, look at what's happening in Chicago where Black people live. Brandon Johnson had a large constituency, but he is hurting the very people who voted him in favor of asylum seekers. That's not necessarily true. Let's go over the facts. Okay. Chicago was one of the cities that bid and competed for the funding for asylum seekers. This was long before Brandon even ran for office. In fact, I don't even think he was on the ballot at the time. There was no ballot at the time. When he took office, which was recently, he assumed that position. But that was not a part of his agenda. That was a part of the previous administration's agenda. Actually, let me bring this up. What's going on, Mr. Research?
What's going on, brother? I love the fact you're talking politics.
Somebody has to do it around here.
While you bringing up your thing, let me just take 30 seconds. There is always a 1 year to 3 year lapse, policy starting to policy ending. Just because a person is sitting in a chair does not mean they created a policy to affect anything. They may be sitting and taking credit for what the last policy did.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me share my screen. Let me bring this up. All right, this is from the New York Times. And this goes back to September of 2022. Biden administration has admitted 1 million migrants to await hearings. The presence of asylum seekers in the United States is both a humanitarian challenge and a political flashpoint in a divided country. So this policy of taking on these migrants came on long before Brandon Johnson had taken office in Chicago. And so New York, Chicago, I believe LA might be one of those cities. There's about 10 cities that had won these monies from the federal government to take on asylum seekers. Legally, you cannot deny asylum seekers the ability to apply for asylum. That's why they're here. So they're not undocumented people, they're asylum seekers. They have a legal right to actually apply for asylum. And if they get denied, they get turned away, they get sent back to where they're from. That's the process in a nutshell. And so when you bring up Brandon Johnson, take into consideration that Brandon Johnson kind of inherited this. It's not like, oh, well, let me reverse this. Well, what is he going to reverse? The city already got the grants. What did they, what do you want them to do with it? Tell the asylum seekers to leave and then what? Misappropriation of funds and then get himself impeached? How logical is this? Like, what are we talking about here? So I don't think that people really look at the policies that are coming out of Washington at all. I think they just look at what's happening on the ground from an impact perspective, and they think that the impact tells the whole story, when in fact you have to go back through the legislation to actually understand what happened before.
So very quickly, just to give you an umbrella, people got to understand politics is like hearing a firecracker. When you heard it, it already exploded. When it exploded, it was already lit. When it was lit, the fuse was already burning to a countdown. So you don't even know who got the match. You got to go investigate who got the match. You got to smell for smoke and investigate. Too many people hear the firecracker and instantly go toward the person they saw with a pocket full of firecrackers. Instantly go to the person that their eyes touch first. Or somebody who hates somebody say, man, it's him over there firing them firecrackers. And without investigating, you still start hating that person. Where Black community suffers is we are not like the card catalog Blacks. The card catalog Blacks will investigate. The 1990 Cliff Notes, hold my hand information people, they hear a gossip about how it happened, and then they run with it until they run out of oxygen. That's bad business for everybody. I remember when somebody said, Barack Obama put us in, you do realize he wasn't even elected when we start going down. That was Dick Cheney. Well, I don't care about none of that. I care. See that type of mentality? I don't care whether you like Cheney, Barack. Get your information straight, especially when it comes to this politics, or you will be fooled.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we're doing. It's not to embarrass anybody, but it's to actually put context around what's being discussed here. I see a lot of people posting this type of stuff, and I'm like, did anybody actually read the memo from the White House or the State Department on this? Like, it's clearly up there. Michael Merriweather says, I understand that, but Black people are speaking out and being ignored. I understand Lori Lightfoot could have been the catalyst for the sanctuary status. Put the asylum seekers in another area besides where Black people are. I don't know what's going on in Chicago on the ground in that regard, but one of the things that they're doing here is they're taking over the state is taking over motels and hotels. Okay. And they're converting them into shelters and places of residency for unhoused people. And what that does is it buys them infrastructure, and it buys them quick infrastructure in the quickest amount of time that they can to turn around. And then, you know, they'll build something else somewhere else, you know, whether it's Howard Johnson or Marriott, you know, Residence Inn, whatever it is, whoever it is, will build their infrastructure somewhere else, and they'll get a nice tax abatement from it. And the cycle, you know, it'll be business as usual.
So this is me as a guest saying this. This is not Mike saying it. This is Sile saying it as a guest. You're being ignored because you don't have your lobbyist in place. You're being ignored because you're not digging into your pocket to buy a representative to sit down at City Hall and speak for your situation the way the Asians got theirs, the Filipinos got theirs, the Pakistanis got theirs, the Italians got theirs. You're respectfully still at the, hey, listen to my megaphone point of view. It's not about that. You still letting the sister get on the microphone and express her feelings. It's not about that. You have to dig in your pockets the way them Boulets do, the way them Deltas do, the way them, you need to dig into your pocket. The minute you smell it start happening, the minute Lightfoot gets elected and you assume it's going to happen. We are all too old. It's too many of us. We all getting $1,000 or more. Why, oh, why do we not have a lobbyist fund that all 2,000 of us should be putting $50 a month into, so we can pay for that particular person to run our interest at the Shy Go Go LTD fund? We got to start understanding the game that's out here. City Hall don't care about your voice. They care about being embarrassed. I've been in politics for years. They care about being embarrassed, but you got to have a lobbyist there to embarrass them. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you're right on.
I think you muted, Mike.
Oh, I dropped out there.
Yeah. You was muted. You said you're right. Go ahead.
No, I was saying you're right, and that's why you have to know the issues of the day, because then you can actually embarrass people with the facts. Like we have a fact sheet up here. If you do a little bit of research, that would actually help you go a longer way. And that's why we have Mr. Research on the panel, so that we can actually have a more in-depth conversation and not just one of emotional response to everything. You know, let me bring this up. When the Ukraine war started in 2022, February 2022, February 24th, the Republican Party were talking about bringing in 100,000 Ukrainians, citizens, to become American citizens.
Yep.
Okay. No one had anything to say about Ukrainians becoming American citizens overnight. No one. Okay. And they were going to use asylum as their way of bringing them in to increase the white population. No one had anything to say about that. And Ukraine's one of the most corrupt countries in the United Nations.
Top 3.
Yeah, in the top. And it says in the top 3. One of the most corrupt nations in the United Nations. And no one questioned the idea of bringing in, I didn't even start sharing my screen. Yeah, no one questioned, you know, the legitimacy of bringing in Ukrainians. Now you have about 3,000 to 5,000 Haitians on the border, give or take. And people are up in arms, oh, we can't have these people here. But when it came to Ukrainians, they were all about bringing them in. But you have Black people arguing over, like, let's say 150 to 250 asylum seekers.
Mm.
If you can't handle 250 asylum seekers, how are you going to handle 100,000 Ukrainians? Where are you going to put all those people? They don't even have enough housing for people now, but where are they going to put all those Ukrainians?
Well, the problem with our community, and again, this is me saying this, this ain't Mike saying it. The problem with our community is we are 2 years after the fact reactive. I peeped game about Ukraine in 2014 when we illegally removed the legally elected leader there.
Mm-hmm.
And McCain was still alive,
Mm-hmm.
flying out there to do speeches after illegally removing it's the same thing we did with the Shah.
Yep.
And for people who are taking notes out there, you had white people blame Jimmy Carter for what darn Nixon did. You can't remove these leaders. Shout out to Hillary Clinton removing Mubarak in Egypt. You can't remove these leaders and expect there not to be no ramification. But Black folks, when it happens, where is your lobbyist? Where is your lobbyist ready to make a move? Because guess what? They done already decided on a move. Mike just told you 2019, 2020. I'm telling you 6 years prior what the move was. Man, what the hell is research talking about? I don't care about that. I care about Black people. Now look what's happening. They in your city. They in your hood. They taking over your whatever, and you can't get no voucher for that building like you could the last 17 times. Now it ain't laughable no more. Now it ain't, man, fuck that shit. It ain't that no more. Now it's like, y'all not listening to us. Hey, I'm saying we over 28 years old, right? We got to take this stuff serious 6 years prior. But that's me saying it. That ain't Mike V saying it. Go ahead, Mike.
No, and why didn't Black Chicagoans put their money together and start buying up these vacant parcels and put it into a community trust? And so therefore,
didn't the hood, all the rappers tell people about buyback? Take some of your dope money and buy back? So why didn't you do that?
No.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on here? See, I hear the pushback against Brandon Johnson or Lori Lightfoot, but where was the action on the ground? Where was the action on the ground? What were the issues on the ballot of the day in Chicago or in Illinois, for that matter, or in Cook County? I mean, I'm not a Chicagoan, so I can't really speak to that. But all these streams and memes and whatnot of what Dems ain't doing and what's going on, with all these asylum seekers. And let's be clear, asylum seekers and undocumented people are two different demographics of people because they have two different systems. And so when the asylum seekers first were shipped from Texas up to Chicago by Greg Abbott, conservative governor of Texas, they shipped those people up there. That wasn't Brandon Johnson who did that. No, they purposefully shipped those people up there by bus. Now, in reality, they should be, there should be, the Department of Justice should be taking action against, the governor and lieutenant governor for human trafficking, but that's a whole nother subject. What I'm saying here is they shipped those people up to Chicago. Chicago didn't welcome those people in. Okay, that wasn't the case. They didn't walk there. Yeah, they didn't walk there. They got a nice, cushy luxury bus that was shipped up there on taxpayers' dollars. If you got a problem with, asylum seekers being in Chicago, go blame the conservatives down in Texas.
Better yet, start making some videos about some names. Don't just wait for Mike to do it, C-Lay to do it. Get on your thing and say, this is what I researched. Tom McCalla in Texas, he calls this. Guess what politicians hate the most? Their names attached to a video or a TikTok. You think I'm laughing? I'm being very seriously. When they run for re-election, that stuff pops up. The voter that's 12 years old 5 years later, he's 17. 6 years later, he's 18. Your video from 7 years ago pops up. I didn't even know this. They don't like having their skeletons shown. But you guys can't keep waiting until it gets too bad and then bring out the microphone and the speakers. You can't do that. Go ahead, Mike.
No, definitely. It's just that the protesting is really empty if it's not grounded in facts and history. And so that's what you're going to be up against. It's just empty rhetoric at that point. And so, like somebody just said in the chat room, the glorious one, he says, as a Chicagoan, best bet is to be outside of Cook County. I didn't know that. Brandon Johnson is trying to clean up a mess that he inherited at this time. He has multiple of issues coming in all at once. That's the issue. And so he gets attacked for something that really he has nothing to do with. So if that's going to be the case, what's the point of having a black manosphere if we're not going to support black men in leadership positions? I don't get that. I don't have anything negative to say about them, but but
it's like I said, when the black movie comes out and it's the black man feature, when the black commercial is on there featuring a non-goofy black man, a black man that's stoic and has some royalty about itself. When darn BMO risks all their money to have a intelligent black man tell you about finances and banking, whether you want to rock with that or not, you got to respect the imagery.
Yeah.
You got to respect the imagery. So if you're going to blame this particular guy in Chicago, connect some dots to your blame. Don't blame the cat just because he's sitting there.
Yeah. You
can't do that.
We're so quick to cut, brothers down when they're in leadership positions and then turn back around and say, we need to get some, we need to get some brothers in who can actually support, black manosphere agenda. Well, kind of hard to do that when every time a brother comes up there, you chop his head off. But when it comes to reparations and whatnot, you got nothing to say to, Dan Patrick and Hot Wheels down in Texas or DeSantis down in Florida. No one ever asks about reparations from those guys, but expect reparations to come randomly from newly elected officials who really can't get the process going without both, branches of the of Congress and the Senate. So
go ahead and finish your thought. I got something coming after.
No, go right ahead.
Reparations, real quick. We went through several years of people cracking jokes about reparation. Now you see Congo going for theirs, Ghana going for theirs. Where's all the Black American and African jokesters now? Where are they? I want to hear the comedy routines of the Black American jokesters and the African jokesters on Ghana going after theirs and Congo going after theirs. I hear silence now.
I just came from Ghana coincidentally this morning, a couple hours ago. Okay, just got off the plane.
And you heard no negativity about it.
That's. Let me put it like this. Ghana is what a Black community is supposed to look like.
Oh my God.
That's what a Black community is supposed to look like. Cohesive. Okay. Cohesive. Not super wealthy, but very respectful, very pleasant, very cultured. That's what a Black community is supposed to look like. No such thing as drive-by shootings and baby mama drama and stuff. You don't hear stuff like that over there. It's unheard of.
How deep is Islam over there? Is it 50%, 40, 80?
If I had to eyeball it, I would probably say that 1 in every 3 women that I ran into were had some connection to Islam.
Okay, 1/3 ain't bad. 1/3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big religious person, but I'm just curious about those things. But shout out to them for having that type of advancement where you can come there and think highly of them. Shout out to that.
Very welcoming community over there. And so it's a lot of ADOS or what you consider to be FBA people over there. People over there chilling, having a good time over there. So, you know, the point about reparations, you know, their reparations is with the British, and so they have a, you know, an argument that's legitimate on their hands. And so, I mean, it's an ongoing process. Reparations isn't a one-time thing. It's just
at all.
It's an ongoing process, and I don't think that people really understand the significance of all of that. But we also got Nagone 11 on the panel. What's going on, bro?
What's up, businessman?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, man. Glad to see you back in town. What's going on, Mr. Research? How you do, man? What it do, you know?
Life is great, man. New position, new money.
Well, that's what we're always striving for. Let's just say that. You know, great conversation, you know, with respect to this politics. We have to, you know, talk a lot more realistically about it. People are just popping off, saying all kind of things, but not coming up with real facts. And let's keep a fact-based type of conversation, and let's look at what's really going on the ground, as opposed to people looking crazy, sounding crazy, talking crazy, and not really on top of what's really going on. That's and pushing out not only misinformation, but really not being, you know, not even trying to be honest about this. So let's keep this conversation very realistic. Let's talk what's really going on the ground, and what we can really achieve through working together. Honestly, you know, as opposed to just a lot of the crazy stuff that I just listen to. It's amazing, but still, we want to keep that conversation going forward. And I'm just kind of glad that, you know, Mike opened this one up here tonight so we can talk about this a little more realistically. And hey, glad to see you too, Mr. Research. Glad to see you on the panel, man. It's great to see you around. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, let me just play this one last clip from AB Media on about Roland Martin.
Example, like we use the phrase, all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Yeah, you're right, Roland. Not all skin folk are kinfolk. People like you. People like you who buck dance for the Democrat Party. You ain't kinfolk. People like you who go around saying, your ancestors died. My ancestors didn't die for you to buck dance for the Democrat Party. People like you are not kinfolk, Roland. Yeah, I said it.
Perfect example.
Okay, here's the deal, man. Why is it, you know, that Roland Martin is considered to be buck dancing for the Democratic Party, but you just had the other day this brother go on Roland Martin, you know, stomping for Trump and was a Black Lives Matter supporter? Like, how come, you know, buck dancing only exists if it's for the Democratic Party, but when it's the Republicans or MAGA or conservatives, it's never buck dancing for them. It's only buck dancing if it's Democrats. I never understood that sort of accusation.
And it has no facts. And with no facts. No facts. Unbelievable.
So let me explain it, man. I've been a conservative for a long time, but I'm an independent.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of conservative Blacks who are Reaganites, and they have learned at the trough of what they believe conservatives should be, not from the creator of conservatism, which is Edmund Burke, French guy, but from some newly Nixon, Dixiecrat, Reaganite type of guy. And you'll hear them say stuff like buck dance, right? One of the best Black GOP guys, I'm not a GOP guy, but GOP guys was Michael Steele. And one of the best female GOP girls was Mia Love. They would technically be buck dancing too. Anything that they was told to do, talking anti-Black, whatever they need to do. But what happened when the white conservatives was finished with them? They belittled them publicly.
Kicked them out of the party.
No. Forget kicked out. Belittled them publicly.
Yeah.
How are you going to belittle your greatest GOP chair in GOP history? His numbers, they still can't catch up to. How did
he organized the Tea Party against our own best interests? He organized the Tea Party.
I won't give him that. I will not give him that, but for the sake of argument, let's say that too. Let's say that too. How you gonna tell this dude he can't even come in the building no more? Tell me how that works. To where CNN liberals are feeling sorry for him on air, and he doesn't even have the manhood to say nothing, just bow his head. That's buck dancing also. But go ahead, Mike.
No, let MOT go. Go ahead, MOT.
All right, so we seem to have a problem here. Like, the first part of your politics is where you live. If you live in Indiana, the problem is not the Democratic Party in Indiana. Okay, you have Terre Haute, you have South Bend, you have Indianapolis, you have Gary. That's it. The rest of the states is kind of like Ohio. You have Cuyahoga County, you have Franklin County, you have Cincinnati, wherever the county that is named, or Toledo, whatever it's named. The rest of it's red. Okay, Akron, since LeBron. The rest of it's red. So if you live in that state and you want more liberal things to happen, and your complaints are inherently liberal, why would you blame the Democratic Party in those states when you don't even have the votes in that state to actually be there and live there? This is what I mean by not taking a meaningful side about where you live and then trying to argue on a national political stage where you don't even understand local politics.
No, in other words, City Hall is your first enemy before you can even think national.
Correct.
But even when you talk about City Hall, the monies don't get to City Hall unless it comes from the state. Because we saw this in Jackson, Mississippi, that monies that were needed to rebuild the water filtration system down there was largely being stymied by the Governor Tate and previous governors before that. And so, yeah, you can go down to City Hall, but if you're talking about the monies and it's not flowing downstream to City Hall, you're gonna have to start looking at leadership at the governor's mansion, both branches in the House, the House and the Senate, and your Secretary of State as well. State auditors need to be looked at as well. Treasury positions need to be looked at as well. This is where a lot of the monies are log jammed at in most states. California, as much as people want to talk about the homeless out there, it has an economy that rivals that of many European countries. You want to talk about New York City. New York City has an economy that rivals most European countries. And so what are we talking about here? Things work fine if you're participating in the process, but when you don't participate in the process, yeah, you're going to feel really angry. Misplaced anger.
Well, people seem not to understand, or there's an old political adage, all politics is local. And so, yeah, we can talk about the presidency and all that, but really to impact your community or your state or your area, you really got to deal with politics more from a local basis and branch out from there. That's what's going to affect you when you talk about your school boards, when you're looking at what's going on with your council, your town council, what's going on with your roads and a lot of your bridges, and what's going on with your buildings, your housing, and so forth, and in your town. That deals with your town council or your city councils and so forth. These things start there, and you have to be involved at that level to really impact your community. When you start dealing with, let's say, your people who are political, or your dissidents or so forth who are coming into your state, that you may have a federal backing, you're backing for that, but when it gets into your community, it's a local issue as well. So you have to be involved at these levels really to kind of have a serious impact. A lot of people, I don't know if they don't understand it or they just don't want to be involved. Most people, don't really want to be that involved. So they want somebody else to kind of do that for them, but yet they want to sit out here and complain and yap and say all kind of stuff, but not be engaged at this level at all. So if you're not engaged at that level, but yet these things are going on, then you really don't have a lot to say, unless you are getting involved and have an idea of what's happening. And that's the key here. One of the things here we have that we say here on the Brain Trust is constantly get involved locally in what you're getting involved with. People don't want to hear that. They want to talk, oh yeah, cut the check and all this other kind of craziness, but yet are not involved. It's not making a lot of sense. And when we have to talk sense, we want to talk sensibly here.
I guess I'm saying, Mike, and you're right about the governor and state level, but I really paid attention when I was in 6th grade. Hey, Mom, we used to have 3 buses here that went to San Francisco. Why it's only 1 bus now? I don't know. What you mean you don't know? You my mom. You're supposed to know this shit. What? You know what? I'll go to the library. I'll find out. A year later. Oh, the white people done annexed several of these black buses to save on their budget, and they got their own personal darn Greyhound service. Going from their area, it's like 7 buses up there.
And they're taking money from you guys.
They love government money when it's spent on them exclusively.
Oh, they
never
love
turn it down.
Wait a minute. I'm in 6th grade.
History.
Wait a minute. I'm in 6th grade. Who got control of the Department of Transportation? Mom, what's that? I don't know. You don't know? I mean, I'm getting tired of this. I don't know shit. Dad, what is Department of Transportation? I don't worry about none of that. Huh? Go down to the Department of Transportation. 6th grade. Oh, this is how this shit is working. Do you know how many adults, Mike, don't know what a controller is, let alone an assessor? That I mean, shit. Go ahead, Mike. You got it.
No, you're right.
Or else the actual equivalent within their city. I mean, you're talking Chicago style politics there, but there is an actual equivalent power base within cities and states of where they're at. And most people don't understand that once you decided that you were never going to participate and you were going to up your complaints, you actually told these people to laugh in your face at that point. You told them to laugh in your face. When you don't take a side, but everything that you want is inherently liberal, but you don't even want to vote with that party, you've told those people not to trust you. Inherently, you told those people not to trust you. So I'm just saying at the end of the day, trying to convince these people to participate in democracy is a lost cause. The only thing we're doing is restructuring the conversation around people who are not going to participate anyway. And these people are feigning to be on some sort of conservative right when they're not even really invested in that either. What they want is more left-wing things, so they want to actually create a hostage situation. And most hostage crises, they're not going to let you do the hostage thing more than one time, especially when they know what your end goal is. Like, people known this stuff 50, 60 years ago, that you ain't got nowhere else to go. But these people don't even want to participate. They want everything. They want the benefits of participating without actually participating and taking a side. And no other culture I've ever ran into ever do business like that.
No, they want to give it to them. They want to give it to them. Well, hey, listen, I'm saying this, cut the check. I'm saying this, so, get these people out of here. Okay, you want all this stuff to be done, but you don't want to participate and do the groundwork that it's going to take to get certain things accomplished. So if you're not prepared to do the work, then what are you really talking about? And that is a big problem that we have in our overall African American community across the nation. Those communities that are better organized do better. Those that are not get zilch, get zero. That is just how this works. And then we have some of these crazy folks talking out here about, well, I'm going to boycott my vote. I'm not going to vote for this. I'm not going to vote for that. Or what I'm not going to participate. How do you benefit from that? Where does that benefit come in? How does that work for you? Or people who have no idea about what's going on with the issues that are really greatly affecting them, but yet they're going to support people that are blatantly against the interests of your community. Why are you not knowledgeable about this? These are the things that we have to grapple with daily. These are our issues. So we're talking here. Hopefully, we get more and more people listening. But this is what this real manosphere should really be about. I know a lot of us are running behind Keisha and all that and thinking that that's important, and you're wasting your time with that. But the important stuff, these people don't want to think about. Or they want to talk crazy and say, you're giving your vote away to one guy, you're giving your vote away to, we are. How are we doing that? And what are the interests on the other side that you're talking about? Can we hear that quickly? How are they going to meet our interests? Can we hear this as well? I'm open to all this conversation. Let's talk about it. Hamana, nothing. Zero. Hear nothing from these people.
Let me read Michael Merriweather's comment. It says, same thing that happens with Black female Democratic prosecutors, Marilyn Mosby and Kim Gardner. But they're the exception. They're not the rule, right? They're not. That's not a consistent thing that happens throughout every state or throughout the nation. That's not a national thing. That's a exceptional thing that's happening. And so the only reason you can read off two of those names is because that's the only two times that's happened. Unless you want to say like Kwame Kilpatrick.
And they're Black women.
Yeah, they just so happen to be Black women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
No, I'm just saying, we're always looking for the exception to try to swallow the rule on the politic, and they're like, that's just not true. That's just that's not a consistent thing that's happening. It's not a normal event that's happening, and so I don't I mean, who's really buck dancing for Marilyn Mosby right now? I mean, I don't see anybody doing that. Same thing for Kim Gardner. I mean, she's up out of there. I mean, what are we really talking about? What about Letitia James? I mean, see, there's other examples out there that are very successful. I mean, Fannie Willis down in Georgia. I mean, what's the brother in I think he's in the Brooklyn circuit, Alan Bragg?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But Mike, they don't even know who these people you're talking about are. They don't even know who they are. You drop that name on them.
Stop the complaint at Democrat and Black women. That's where they stop the complaint at.
What's the brother down in Kentucky that ran for the governor's mansion and lost a few weeks ago? The one who was stomping for Trump, but Trump did not endorse him.
At all.
I remember his face. Yeah, I remember his face. I don't remember his name.
He was the one who tried to take down Breonna Taylor. Daniel Cameron.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Yeah, Daniel Cameron. Yep.
Yes, it's Daniel Cameron.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what it is.
How come he's not considered to be buck dancing for this guy, right? And he still lost.
Because if you're buck dancing for Trump for these guys now, how they look at it, if you buck dance for them, you're actually not buck dancing.
Yeah,
that's how they see that.
Well, it's like, look, that's just like I've been called a rhino for so long. When I first heard it, I want to say it was like 2001. The person couldn't even explain it to me. He was just so caught up in calling me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I get what it is. You're a Reaganite, and you think that any person who claims conservative and doesn't have that type of showmanship nonsense without policy, because for me, Reagan had the worst policies. You get upset at that. And then you would go on and hear other people use this rhino term. And once again, they couldn't articulate what the hell it was past name calling, right? I've gotten to the point where I want to say 2010, I start saying to people, well, give me a Reagan policy you like. That has something to do with America, not whatever happened to Russia. And give me something that happened to America that you like. Well, cutting taxes for who? Okay, who? What was the number? How did your uncles and aunties get affected by that number? Were they in that bracket? Well, nah. Well, once again, where's the policy that helped you? So,
well, let me ask you this: How many times did Reagan?
Let me just land this thing.
How many times did Reagan raise taxes when he was president? How many times did he do that? Just ask that question to him. Most people can't. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but my thing is, it's buck dancing both sides. That's the sad part about it. And when I hear black faces say what they're saying, it's true of the Rollins and some of these other people, but it's on the other side too. And what's so sad is that just the four of us could take over probably Chicago Republicans off the rip. All we need is one of us to be limelight popular. Just one of us be some type of sports or music notoriety. We can literally take it over. Republicans are weaker than people realize because it's a lot of freaking talking.
Because they operate off of fragility to begin with. They really don't have, the modern Republican doesn't really have a strong footing to begin with. Look at what happened with Ben Sasse and Adam Kinzinger, and it's a really fragile environment on that side. And so, look at what they did to Michael Steele, completely decapitated. What happened to Alan West?
They did him so dirty.
Yeah. When his wife got jammed up by police, they left him out there high and dry. And so, what happened to Herman Cain when he was rising in the polls? See, no one talks about this, that what goes on that side. They did a whole lot of buck dancing on that side.
Wait. Here's the hardest thing I've told about Herman Cain. And, God bless the dead. Can somebody show me any Republican taking a picture at his bedside?
Didn't even show up to the wake.
That shit is cold.
He died. He died. They rolled his ass into the ground like he was some trash and kept it moving. You didn't hear anything else about him anymore after he died, up in there running behind Trump and them. Yeah. That's how that went down. Nobody talks.
No, Nagone. That dude hit the hospital. I think I thought about him more than any conservative combined.
they didn't care. At the end of the day, they didn't care about him.
Yeah,
they did not care about this man.
Did you see Trump at Colin Powell's funeral? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was murder too, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Did you see Trump at McCain's funeral? I don't think so. Even Obama was there. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like all of this talk about people buck dancing and stuff like that, man. Like this brother that you see on screen, Daniel Cameron, with his SYSBM wife, he's one of the biggest buck dancers. Okay. All that skinning and grinning and stuff like that. He's one of the biggest buck dancers.
But if you're buck dancing for these guys, remember these people here, they, the ABs and these guys, they won't call that buck dancing. They won't call that out what it is, because it's not buck dancing when you're running behind these guys.
I mean, look at this photo right here.
It is what it is.
I just noticed this, where this guy's hand is at, man. That's a hashtag waiting to happen, man. It's only a matter of time.
Hey, fellas, I got to go do payroll, man, before I go to sleep. So much love. This has been great, man.
All right.
I'm going to holler at y'all, man. Peace out.
Peace out to you, brother.
Peace. Thanks for coming up, man. Yeah, it's just you know, no one ever says, you know, John James was buck dancing. Right?
Nope.
No one says anything about Vernon Jones down in Georgia.
Nope.
No one calls him a buck dancer. See, you're only buck dancing if it's Democrats. If you're Republicans, you know, you're somehow masculine now. You know, you got big balls, like, you know, like somebody said before. So you know, we gotta start calling people out for the inconsistencies in their talking points and really just highlight the facts. To stick to the facts like we did here. These are the facts about Trump's numbers, even coming from the Joint Economic Committee, Congressman Don Beyer. You know, this is all on the record. You know, the idea that, you know, everyone was doing so much better under Trump, the numbers don't even reflect that.
Nope.
Numbers don't reflect that.
Let's just stick to the facts. Let's see what the real facts are. And, you know, and if Trump inherited an economy that was on the rise from Obama. He inherited that.
Yeah.
He didn't come in. He didn't come in after a crash. He did not come in there. He came in there when we were on the uptick. That's how he came in. And blew the economy behind COVID.
Yeah. Any last comments, MOT?
Not necessarily.
I know you covered
No,
a.
I don't see that.
No, I know you had a stream last night about politics. I didn't get a chance to watch that, but
No, but the politics for last night was a very different show. It was a very different show about people expecting for democracy to convince you to join. They get so much out of you not participating. Why on earth would they want you to join the conversation in a meaningful fashion? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's like we're starting off from like day one and square one when people know more and more, particularly about the process already. And we're still starting from square one, no matter how much information is already out there. I just look at it as a personal problem at this point. Like, you have to look at personally when a person tries to leverage the collective participation of other people over time periods that they were not even voting at in areas of countries where they weren't even effectively participating. They want to know what everybody is putting in for them. And it's like, man, like you can't wage a local battle focusing on everybody else's politics. They're supposed to come together as some sort of a group, but they don't want to even do that. It's up to everybody else to do all the work while they sit here and do nothing and just collect the benefits. And that's just not how that's ever going to work, to be quite honest with you.
That is so true.
All right.
But then again, we're having this conversation in 2023. Most of the people in this space have been there through 2020, 2016, even 2012. And yet, and still, we're still pretending like we're brand new to this conversation when we know we've been through this a multitude of times. That's what makes me frustrated and upset with it, for the most part.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out. Share the video as possible.